Hi, I'm Joe Graedon. I'm a pharmacologist, and I co-host the syndicated radio show on public radio called The People's Pharmacy with Dr. Terri Graedon.
And I'm Terri Graedon. I'm a medical anthropologist and the co-host and the co-author of The People's Pharmacy.
Well, it's a syndicated newspaper column that's read by people in about 80 newspapers around the country, and we've written now about, a dozen books?
A dozen books or so.
On health and related matters, home remedies, dietary supplements, and herbs. And we came to meet Stephanie Schipper many years ago because we were really interested in communication, our values, what really is important to us. And Stephanie has made such a difference in our lives, it's really hard to describe. I mean, every once in a while you meet somebody who just changes things, and Stephanie has changed a lot for us, both professionally and personally.
Well, very often when we meet with Stephanie, something unexpected happens. And I remember that it changed the way you approached the entire issue of healthcare and doctors.
Well, when I was a little kid, probably about 2 years old, I was diagnosed with polio. And this was at a time when there was no polio vaccine. Polio was often a death sentence. And I was in an isolation ward in a children's hospital, surrounded by alien beings, physicians and nurses in white gowns and masks. I didn't know how I got there, and I didn't even know why I was there. I was too young to understand any of that. And they hurt me quite a lot. And I'd always ask them, is it going to hurt?
No, it's not going to hurt. And then, of course.
And then it hurt. So I think as a result of that experience when I was very young, number one, I had a hard time trusting people. And number two, I was probably angry a lot.
And Stephanie?
Well, Stephanie changed all of that. When she sort of opened me up to those awarenesses of what had happened as a child. Number one, I was able to overcome my fears, a lot of my anxieties, and also I was able to begin to trust people, and I was no longer angry. I mean, I think a lot of people heard that on the radio, and they saw that when I would interact with them. I kind of was a little, some people would call it assertive, other people might call it aggressive, but I really began to understand better how people were perceiving me, because that wasn't who I was as a person. And it changed my ability to communicate, our ability to write, our ability to interact with people. And it really has made a huge difference.
Another thing that's been really helpful is clarifying our core values with Stephanie, and knowing that one of our top values is making a positive change in the world has really helped us stay on track with that.
Well, core values are so essential to everything we do. How we live our lives. It's kind of, we hear that refrain, talk the talk, walk the talk, be genuine. But until you really understand what matters to you and how it impacts your life and how you're going to interact with other people, whether it's in a business situation or whether it's in a private, personal relationship, those core values really are critical. And when you're living your core values day to day,
then that's the recipe for joy in your life.
So Stephanie has made a huge difference for us in so many ways. On the radio, where we interact sometimes in little brief snippets with people. Somebody calls in, live talk radio. You have to be able to hear what they're saying, what really matters to them, sometimes just in a few seconds, to be able to get underneath what's really happening and find out what they care about, what they're worried about, and be able to interface and be the catalyst between the caller and maybe your guest who's an expert in a particular health area. Stephanie has helped us with all of those kinds of communication issues. And certainly when we do any kind of business negotiation, it really helps to be able to be attentive, to understand what the other person is really concerned about, and to get past any kind of difficulties that might arise, as they often do in any kind of negotiation.
To be able to meet at shared values.
Yeah, and when you meet with those shared values, magical things happen, whether it's business, personal, or any other aspect of your life.